Hello, it's Todd Winger from ROCKFIEND here, and we're here today with the guitar maestro, Joel Hoekstra. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, really good, thank you. Congratulations on the new album. It sounds really, really cool. We love it.
Thank you so much.
Is it getting the response you were hoping for?
Yeah, I think so. I've really only seen good reviews, and seems to be lots of positive comments. I really haven't read too many negatives, so that's great. What's not to like? I'm thrilled, man. I think, I'm sure you made records in the past, and it's like you get done and you don't have a lot of perspective on it anymore because you work so hard on it. You're much too close to it. So you finish it and it's like, God, I don't know if people are going to hate this or what, So it's great to see so many positive comments.
That's really good. I mean, I always think that even if you read a bad review now and again, I've read a couple in the past from people nitpicking at little things, and you just think, well, everyone else likes it. I like it. If one guy doesn't, so be it.
Yeah, well, I think it's that the old adage is true. You can't make everybody happy. So, I mean, no matter what, you'll find, I think, people objecting to the tiniest of little things that can become a big deal to them. So I think it's very hard to hold yourself to making everybody happy. It's never going to happen.
Absolutely. No, that's right. I mean, so in the beginning, when I started playing guitar, I used to get fazed by if I knew another guitarist in the audience and they'd be standing there like that, just staring at you. But in the grand scheme of things, I came to realize that there's always someone better in the audience who can play faster or play harder, and you just do what you can do. So
yeah, I think the older I get, the more perspective there is on all these things, and life's not about a talent contest anyway. So it doesn't, that kind of thing doesn't make one person better than the other. And it's all this stuff. Our music careers are built off of life experience and the type of person you are, as much as they are off of what type of player you are. So, there's always that.
Absolutely. And with the writing of the album, did you do the majority of the actual songwriting yourself, or did you and Russell work together and kind of come back and forth? How did that work?
No, I do it all with these, which is that's really the most important thing for me on it, is I get an opportunity to not just write some of the guitar riffs, but all of the guitar riffs, and also write the vocal melodies and the lyrics and everything. So it's basically all my music, and I record a guide vocal for Russell. He listens back to that, and then he just sings it a whole lot better than me.
I know that feeling. That's cool. In some of the songs, there's like for me, I heard a lot of Dio influence in there, but then out of nowhere, it'd like flip to a chorus that you'd hear in a Journey song type of thing. Do you find when you're putting a song together, do you try and make things sound different?
No, I just follow the influences of my life, I guess, and then try and hone it enough that this all fits on one album. So for me, that's basically starts with writing a chorus all the time. I'll write a chorus, riff it on guitar, and sing along, and then I'll typically expand to the other riffs of the song. And this is just a generalization. It's not like every single song is this way, and then I'll write the rest of the riffs and be singing a melody. I find it very difficult to be like, I'm going to write all the verse lyrics while I'm doing this, So I'll usually have a melody. And so what I send to Vinny Appice and Tony Franklin is they'll have my rhythm guitars to a click, and then I'll play the vocal melody on the guitar. And then they track to that. And then once that's done, I'll actually finish writing the lyrics. So I'll write the lyrics to everything, record the guide vocal for Russell, and that's what he listens to when he does his singing. But in general, I write chorus out and guitar riffs throughout. That's kind of where they all start. But in terms of where the influences poke their heads out, it's always happens at different times, man. Different things pop out at different times.
Sure. That's cool. I think it's good in that sense that you're not just kind of chiming down one line. You let an influence from another part of life come in, and that's what gives it its character, and gives it your own, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be spots where I'm trying to play things within certain guidelines with the album, write things within certain guidelines. I mean, I think it's a difficult thing for me because I can be all over the map in the blink of an eye. I've played all different styles throughout my life, and it's hard enough just to keep me to only playing melodic hard rock, much less try and sound like one or two bands without sounding exactly like them. So it's a tricky thing. I just do my best to write within the guidelines of, I'm calling this stuff melodic hard rock. That's Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner-ish at its lightest. So that's kind of where it lives for me, and what the sound of the project is. And I think that fits with the personnel. That's the other thing, is that I'm trying to always think, okay, we got Russell, we got Vinny Appice, what's going to make everybody sound the best? What makes the most sense here? So, yeah, hopefully in the end that works out. I mean, in the end, this is all about the songs, and I'm hoping that people can come at this from a standpoint of just enjoying it as a rock listening experience, not like some kind of statement of me as a guitarist. I'm not really trying to prove anything, like in terms of like, check me out on guitar. It's I try to play for the songs, but the songs are the big thing for me on this.
It's good. No, that's really cool. Did you approach Russell and Vinny sort of on the project, or did they come to you?
So this started with, this is the second one under this name, Joel Hoekstra's 13, the project name. So Dying to Live was the first one, and that came together, Tony Franklin first, because we had just finished playing another project together called VHF, and I said, hey man, I'm thinking I'd like to do something that sounds like a band, but where I do all the writing and have an opportunity to just come from a standpoint of like a good rock album. That's it, straight ahead rock album. And nothing progressive, and he was into it, said, who would you want to use on drums? And he recommended Vinny, and Vinny and I had actually never met. So that sounded perfect to me, though, because that took me back to being 12 years old, listening to Holy Diver and listening to Vinny play with Black Sabbath, and I thought, that's the perfect vibe. That's exactly what I want. I don't want, like, a progressive greatest drummer in the world kind of vibe. I want a guy who's greatest drummer in the world for his feel, right? If that makes sense, not for the playing in 9 million odd time signatures. And so anyway, Vinny was the perfect choice, and then Russell Allen was just joining Trans-Siberian Orchestra at that time, so I checked him out and was like, this is great. This dude sings Dio. He can sing the, I guess, bluesier kind of rock like Foreigner or Whitesnake or Bad Company, and I thought, I mean, this is exactly what I want to do here. Have a great singer, focus on the songs. So he made sense. And then Derek Sherinian, I mean, great sounds, great solos, great, everything, great parts. So, I mean, he's just a no-brainer there. And then Jeff Scott Soto singing in the background is really just, he's a friend of mine. And obviously he's overqualified. I call him the most overqualified backing vocalist in the world. But yeah, he could have sung lead on it, but he helps me out with these, and he really took this album to a whole new level. I mean, I think I could have plugged away and done background vocals on the album, but honestly, it's much better with Jeff, and it happened much quicker with Jeff than it would have with me. So that's for sure. So anyway, he really helped me out, and definitely is a very important part of the sound of the album.
That's brilliant. That's really cool. I mean, it is basically in itself a supergroup. I've seen that you're doing a couple of things with Marco Mendoza and Nathan James. Is that under the hat kind of thing at the moment, or is there anything you can tell us about?
My job with that was to come up with the guitar riffs and do so in a situation where they weren't necessarily orchestrated or arranged yet. So it's like fun to just foundation guitar rhythms, get those to Michael Sweet, and they weren't even arranged. So it was like take, 4 riffs and play them at the same tempo in terms of, you can have in mind like, hey, this would maybe be an intro, or this would be a chorus or a bridge or whatever. But that was my job, was to get those to Michael, and he arranged them and turned them into songs. So just kind of waiting on the next step with that. Just taking it step by step. I mean, I think it's going to be very collaborative. There's a lot of very talented people involved with that project, with, You got Michael, but you got Alessandro, and you got Nathan. I mean, all those guys can write as well. So we'll see what happens. But I think my role with that is going to be guitar riffs.
Cool. And was that a product of like the pandemic and people just, because a lot of people have been branching out and, you know, collaborating and talking to people. Did that come about before the whole COVID thing, or was it during?
During, but I think it was all really Frontiers. I'm pretty sure Frontier. I mean, Michael and I had been talking about doing an album together for a long time. We've been kind of like tiptoeing forward in terms of working together. I think the first thing I did was mime in his video, guitar parts that he had played. And then from there, we went to me playing on a couple tracks on his next solo album. And then his next solo album, I actually contributed the riffs to a couple of the songs. So we actually finally co-wrote. And the whole time we've been saying, someday we'll make an album together. Someday we'll make an album together. Well, it ended up being we're making it, but we're also making it with Nathan, which nobody saw coming. But sometimes that's the way these things work out. It's not always the way you picture it. But, you know, it could be pretty dangerous, man. You know, it's a pretty talented lineup.
I definitely think so, with the, you know, the backgrounds of all of those guys and yourself. I think you're right. Dangerous is a good word. Have you, I mean, during the pandemic side of things, have you like struggled to get motivation to sort of keep going, or do you just carry on like we'll see you next year? And you know,
no, I mean, I would say I'm busier than ever. It's just a totally different brand of busy right now, man. I mean, obviously finishing the album and doing press for that right now, but I started to, in terms of just being able to not watch my savings account go away during this, just started teaching 30 students a week via Skype, so one-on-one, and doing master classes for Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp and some other outlets, and doing Cameo personalized greetings for people where I shred a little bit or play a little something. So that stuff is all kind of the nuts and bolts of like making a living and staying like, you know, like I'm still a professional guitar player, but also writing, like we mentioned, for the stuff with Michael Sweet and Nathan. But my friend Jim Peter is producing an album and co-writing with him. I did co-write something with Nathan for the New and Glorious album, 2 of the tracks that are on there. So that kind of stuff, staying writing. Quarantine jams have been a big thing during this. Not sure what I'm missing in there, man. But I mean, I honestly, I feel like I'm busy if I wanted to be all day, every day. So yeah. It's just a totally different brand of busy, man. It's gone from 2019, where I was on the road 285 days out of the year, to being home every single day, but not like at the same time working nonstop. And I think that's what it's about, man. Is like, just don't stop moving forward and don't stop being productive. For me, that's like that's my thing, is like, just be productive every day, and then life will take you where you're meant to be. You just have to kind of keep open-minded to all the avenues that life can present to you. Sometimes it's not going to be what you pictured, you know. It's not always what you have in mind. I mean, my prime examples are working with Cher, playing in her band, or playing in Broadway with Rock of Ages. I mean, those are not, like, I was not 11 years old playing Black Sabbath going, someday I'm going to play for Cher, you know. But if you do your best at every turn, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what am I doing here? I'm standing on stage with, you know, Cher in front of 23,000 people in Sweden or whatever. I mean, it's like, it's a strange thing, life, you know. It'll take you places you never thought.
Yeah, with say Cher, just for, you know, people wanting to get out of just the local scene sort of thing. Did you have like a management company work for you to get you that gig, or did you know her before? Or?
No, that's just me reaching out to. I knew Whitesnake wasn't going to go out in 2017 because David had knee surgery, so I just reached out to, you know, all my colleagues, just text, hey, you know, if you know anybody who needs a fill-in, let me know. I'm just kind of building a year. I don't need a new gig per se, because I'm still in Whitesnake and we're going to be doing some recording and whatnot. But anyway, that was the gist of what I wrote to everybody. And my friend Justin Derico recommended me to Dave Barry, who's Cher's longtime guitar player. And Dave had me in to fill in. And the both of them play guitar on that TV show, The Voice, and then Dave got more and more busy with that, turned into a little bit more of a full-time thing. So, you know, it's again, it's funny how sometimes these things work out.
Yeah. Is there anyone sort of outside the box, like say Cher, for instance, anyone else like that you'd really like to play for?
No, I mean, nobody specific. My thing is just, you know, talented people who are positive minded are my favorite to work with. But I think I just do the best I can at every turn and see what opens up and what unfolds. But yeah, for me, it's about exploring every avenue and working hard at it, not just like blowing it off and going like, well, you know, I don't have time for that. I try to make time for everything. I mean, that's what do I have more important to do than work on trying to build my career and make a living at this. So anyway, I think it's important sometimes to do that stuff, even when it doesn't make sense, because that just about everything I've ever gotten, I can trace back to some moment where it's like, well, why the hell were you doing that? Like that, you know, you're getting paid like 10 cents an hour to do that. So I think you got to be crazy enough to do that kind of stuff to get somewhere in this business, I think.
I think you're right. Definitely take as many opportunities as you can and give it your best shot. There's, you know, like you said, why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? So, I mean, all those things, like, you know, Night Ranger, joining that band, that came from being in Jim Peterick's house band for World Stage. And for those, I would once a year, I'd get down like 36 songs, and he didn't want charts on stage. You'd have to memorize them. And so, you know, I'd have to shed them for couple weeks, at least 2-3 weeks every night, and that was while I was playing 8 shows a week on a theater gig, Love Janice. So I mean, I was like, you know, coming home from playing 2 shows in a day, and I'd still have to go practice Jim's set for 3 hours. It was not easy stuff to remain motivated with, but that really, doing that kind of crazy stuff led me to Kelly Kagi was one of the guests every year with that, and that led me the opportunity with Night Ranger. And so it's just a prime example of stuff that was like just totally 100% from doing work that was like, well, dude, just take it easy. No, I got to do this. And so Rock of Ages, having that opportunity, that came from subbing for my friend who does pit stuff here in New York. And I would just learn whatever book he had, and I'd spend weeks getting it together, like, you know, 6 hours a day, for 3 weeks. And then maybe every once in a while I'll get the opportunity to go in and sub from him and make $250, you know? So it'd be like, well, I just worked really, really hard for a month and a half, and I got in there for like, you know, I made $500. So, I mean, it'd be like insane stuff that most people would just be like, no, I'm not doing that. That's going to be a pain in the ass. So by just going through that stuff, for me, has always led to these opportunities.
That's good. I think that's good advice to take on, that, you know, if you want to work hard, you get the best results. That's the way I've always tried to look at it too, in that just take every chance, and you never know who's in the audience and who's going to say, well, actually, I know David Coverdale and he needs a new guitarist.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, work creates work, right? I think if you're inactive, you're inactive. If you're active, then you're always, at least you're working with people, and then that kind of stuff can actually lead to the stuff that pays the bills. And, you know, so again, that the Broadway thing would be the perfect example with that, of like busting my ass for weeks to get in and make very little money, just like, you know, $500 or whatever, after working for a month on it, 6 hours a day. But then all of a sudden that leads to Rock of Ages, where I literally play the same exact music for over 6 years and don't have to learn anything for that. So there's your payoff, right? It's like there's no time spent learning in that. You just go in and do the show. And so stuff has a funny way of evening out with that as well.
Do you think that, again, for like young guys wanting to get out there and get in bigger bands, do you think what percentage of it is live and being out there versus, say, a lot of the YouTube type of sensations?
Well, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, there's different ways to do it these days. I'm not necessarily from the YouTube generation, but I don't necessarily have anything against it either. If people are working hard and they're finding a way to monetize what it is they're doing and bring it to the table, then great. I mean, I think you got to be careful not to do all the work and have no opportunities to roll it into something that'll make a living for you, because then the window shuts and then you don't have the time to play your guitar. Yeah. As you full well know, as soon as there's a plan B is going to win. I mean, it's so much easier to do anything else than it is to make a living doing this. So I would say it's important not to let that window shut on yourself if you're a younger musician. You got to always kind of have a mindset of like, all right, how can I make a living doing this? I mean, in the early days for me, that was teaching, and I'm kind of back to that right now during the COVID thing, but I'd rather have that happen than, again, like, who knows how long this thing could go on. I took a couple months to go, all right, cool, I can chill. But once I saw this was going to go on, I was like, all right, I got to start teaching, because I'm not about to have spent my whole life working hard on guitar to watch everything fall away real quick in the course of a couple of years. So, and I enjoy it just fine. I mean, it's an opportunity for me to have my guitar in my hand 6 hours a day teaching and staying sharp. And I mean, that's a heck of a lot better than sitting around going, when am I going to be able to tour again?
I think a lot of people, sadly, are probably falling into that trap.
A lot of people, definitely. Yeah, I know. I think people need to people can do whatever the hell they want. But I mean, as far as my mindset is like, I still got to be productive. I got to be moving forward every day.
Definitely. When you are so say when you were touring last year and the year before, when you do get home for however few days it is a year, what do you do on like your downtime? Do you play golf, or I don't know? What do you get up to outside of music?
I'm pretty normal dude on the outside of this whole music thing. Just sports. I do enjoy actually playing basketball. I love to go out and shoot, and there's some videos of me even on my Instagram. If you go back far enough at this point, COVID has kind of shut a lot of that down at the moment. But I do enjoy playing basketball. But enjoy following basketball and baseball in particular, a little bit of football, and movies. Just like kind of regular chill stuff, man. Anything to get my mind off of music.
Cool. Do you have a particular NFL team? I know you said it's not your favorite sport, but
well, I grew up in Chicago, so the Bears. I definitely still follow all the Chicago teams. I'm a Cubs and Bulls fan.
Cool.
So I love The Last Dance. Having that during COVID was great fun. The documentary, right? So that was definitely one of my favorite moments of this, was having that come out.
Cool. Reverting back to guitar in a sense. I mean, how long have you been playing guitar for?
I guess since 11, so 39 years now for me.
In those 39 years, a lot of stuff has changed, with not just guitars, but amps and digital amps like the Kempers and whatnot. For you personally, has there been a real game changer in guitar gadgets, if you like?
I don't know if there's a real game changer. I mean, I use for some gigs that's been the correct thing. I mean, we started out Rock of Ages with real amps, but we were doing 8 shows a week with no guitar tech. And if stuff went wrong and there's actors having dialogue in a scene and your tubes start screaming, that's not exactly the moment you want. And then the entire audience is watching you switch heads and all this stuff. So I mean, we went to fractals on that, and that was obviously a better move. I mean, it was better for the gig. So I think sometimes there's applications for everything. Now, that being said, I still love to do the real amps with Whitesnake and fire up and turn up loud like a good old school rock band. And that's great fun. So I can't single out anything as a game changer. I mean, I can tell you the new album, Running Games, is the first one that I've made where it's plugins for my guitar tone. I mean, it's that neural DSP stuff. So I ran a DI. I did print a modeling unit here at home as well, but I think the mix engineer basically used my DI and used neural DSP stuff. So I mean, for me, it's apples and oranges. I will say that I think a lot of that stuff misses the roll off, the dynamics, especially when you go with the high gain. You have to gate stuff, and then you can't smoothly like roll back your guitar and clean things up the same way that you can with an amp. So, and obviously not having an amp on stage where you get that circle of tone with the coming out of your speakers and hitting it. So, getting back into your pickups, right? So if you don't have the stuff on stage, then the direct thing can be fine. I mean, using the modeling. But like I said, I do miss the sustain and the roll-offs. The way your guitar interacts with it isn't quite the same.
No, I agree with that comment. I like, in a live sense, with a head in a cabinet, whether it's live in the studio or on stage, that it just has this like raw, pure tone to it, rather than you're just running it into a computer and that's choosing what you're going to get, sort of thing. Yeah,
I mean, I would say that stuff's come a long way, though. I mean, I look back on where it began. Whatever, I forget everybody got like one of those original pods when it came out. I think it was really the first thing, right, that I probably played through like that. It's come a long way. I mean, I think that this stuff is sounding really great, and nothing wrong with using it. Like I said, in certain applications, I use it with TSO, and I did with Rock of Ages and Share as well, because that was something that I didn't know how long I was going to be doing it. And I was like, man, dumping 10, 20 grand into building a rig in there. And I don't know how long, what happens if I'm done with this in a year or two? And so for me, it was like, hey, let me take all the sounds that Dave has and I'll program it into a fractal. So that's what I did. I just A/B'd his rig, had an A/B switch, and just did my best to make it sound exactly like everything he had going on.
Cool. Do you get, I mean, obviously you're on tour a lot. Would you choose on your downtime to go and watch a gig locally?
Not really. Not unless I wanted to say hello and like hang out. And but honestly, it's not a big part of what I enjoy doing when I'm done with music. I'm one of the worst at like checking out new stuff too. When people are like, "Who are you listening to? New bands these days?" I'm like, nobody. I have no idea. I'm not current at all, like not even remotely. I just I work on music a lot, man. I get done doing, if I teach for 6 hours in a day right now and then do a session for somebody that takes 2 hours, I've had the guitar in my hand 8, 9 hours. The last thing I'm going to do is like, hey, let me check out this new album from these people, or it's just never happens.
That's fair enough. In the old school sense of it, what's your favorite Whitesnake lineup?
I mean, I can't do that, dude. I mean, I think all the lineups have been great. All the musicians that have been through Whitesnake, they're all great musicians, man. I'm honored to be a small part of the history of the band, but if I single anything out, that's not going to be all that cool of me, right? So I would say, I mean, for me as a U.S. kid, we grew up getting exposed to Whitesnake during Slide It In, and basically when Sykes came into the band, and listening to Slide It, what David calls the Geffen records. That's what in the U.S. that's what we all bought, But when I joined the band, obviously I listened to the whole catalog and listened to all the stuff earlier, and they're just not a bad song on any of those records, man. It's pretty remarkable. Great songwriting, and Bernie's a monster on guitar. He came, sat in with us, and he's great, man. I mean, tone for days, man. So. I'm just honored to be like a small part of the Whitesnake story, the history of it, and there you go.
Wicked. All right, Joel. Well, thank you ever so much for coming in and hanging out, and hopefully we'll get to see you on the road soon.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Magic. Thanks, Dave.
Cheers. Have a good one.
You too, man.